Dino receives us in the garage where he has a fully equipped workshop. And the moment the 5 Australian unemployed people come through the door, Dino goes to greet them with in his hand a pair of high-heel leather shoes that he was making for a lady who was going to the wedding of a daughter. And this lady had 1 foot, 1 size shorter than the other, and she wanted green leather high heel shoes. So Dino came to see them with this pair of high heel Italian magnificent shoes, Italian style. And these 5 Australian 25 to 45 years old leather workers, their jaw dropped. They had never seen how you make a pair of shoes by hand. They thought that the shoes were made by machines in China. No, this guy was making everything, including the heel, was layers of leather covered. And the moment they saw Dino, they surrounded him. And they ignored me for the next 2 hours. They touched everything, they asked him everything. Finally, Dino said, come and have cannoli. So we went outside with cannoli. And Dino looked at me and said, I like these people. I will teach them. But they are unemployed. And he said, I will teach them for free. And the 5 Australians say, we can't get you to come to Fremantle for free. So out of their dough, they gave him $5 each a week for his gas. So in the basement of the Henry Street Fremantle Furniture Factory, in 1980, we set up the Fremantle Shoemakers Project. And Peter Newman and I would go down to the factory to sweep the floor, just to be there to watch them. Dino said, I never met people like this. In 1 year, they were making orthopedic shoes. He says, it's impossible. It takes 4 years for an apprentice to do it. And Peter Newman understood what we were doing to those unemployed people. We were giving them water. They were in the desert. Of course they drank. Sheer passion. The technique is easy. Sheer passion. And Peter Newman got the bug with me to say, my God, Ernesto, can you facilitate an entire community like this? I said, yeah. Yeah, we can. We actually can do that. Only work with passionate people who love to do something. And if they won't help to make a living out of that, we help them. Took some time. I took a detour, 4-year detour from Fremantle. I ended up working for the Australia Council in Sydney for 4 years. Because the Australia Council for the Arts, when they heard what I'd done, they said, oh my God, can you do this with other immigrant artists? So they courted me, they sent me tickets, come for the job interview. They changed my visa. And for 4 years, I became a bit of a slave of the Australian Council in North Sydney. Fortunately, they cut my grant after 4 years. They set me free. And I was able to go back to Fremantle, to Peter Newman, and to our idea. The idea was, let's see what happens if a community invites me. The problem was that no community knew me, and Peter Newman was the key to get me an invitation to go to Esperance. And I went to Esperance in 1984, 85, I think, because Esperance was dying. For those in Western Australia, you will remember those years. The federal government cut fishing. They cut the tuna fishing, and Esperance had 45 boats fishing for tuna. So they had 450 men working at sea. And when the industry was cut, it was a little bit like what happened to Burnie here when they stopped the mill. And so the town was really suffering. And they were asking for any idea, anything could be done. And I wanted to repeat that little model based on my humanistic psychology masters who believe in people. I wanted to do the same to the entire community. I wanted to go, and for once in the history of Western civilization, instead to arrive to tell people what to do, I wanted to shut up and listen to what the local people wanted. And I wanted to see whether, with a little bit of help, I could help somebody in Esperance go from poverty, unemployment, misery, solitude, despair, to do beautifully what he or she wanted to do. And I promise you that I arrived with a prepared to help anybody to do anything. I swear to you that if the first person in Esperance would have said to me, I want to become a nun, and I want to lock myself in a convent, and I want to make the vow of silence, chastity, and poverty, I would have called my contacts in the Vatican in Rome. I would have found a convent. You know? And I was interested in personal growth because that's what I studied. Humanistic psychology is about personal growth. It says that we are all on a journey. And the journey is a journey that ultimately leads us, hopefully, to be able to look at the reflection in the mirror in the morning and like what we see. That you become the woman you have always wanted to be. And you become the man you always wanted to be. That you are returning the gift that has been given to you, to the world. So I was a facilitator of anything. But unfortunately what happened to me was that the first person that I met was somebody who was smoking fish. So I helped this guy who was smoking fish in a garage. The city council had shut him down. He was desperate, he had contemplated suicide, 55 years old, absolutely on the scrap heap. And when I met him, he was so full of passion. See, I thought that maybe I would meet more unemployed people with a passion, and then I had to find a master. Instead, the first person I met in Esperance was a master that was desperate. Because Maury was of New Zealand descent. He was a Maori guy, half Maori, but his family tradition was fish processing. And he was a master at producing smoked fish. So good that I said, oh my God, you have to sell this in the best restaurants in Australia. So what I did, instead of helping somebody to, go into a convent, I found somebody who wanted to start a business. And I had never, ever done anything like that in my life. When I saw this guy wanting to start a business, and I heard myself say, would you like me to help you? Then I said, Ernesto, shut up! You know nothing about smoked fish. But then I said, how difficult is it really? Is it difficult to do a business? How difficult is it? So I said, if the product is good, let me find out if somebody wants it. So what I did, I went to the Sheraton, the Parmenion, the Indian Pacific Railway catering company, made appointments. Then I called Maurice and said, come up. And he came up from Esperance, and then in my car we went around hawking fish. It was delightful. It was beautiful because Maury knew everything about it, so I simply had to make the introduction. Then the chef will be given a sample, will slice it, taste it. That's good. How much it is per kilo? Shelf life? You know, when can I order? What can you produce? Fabulous. So easy. And then I was socializing with somebody, and this guy had some money. He sold a big factory in somewhere for millions. And so I got him introduced him to Maury, put some money behind it, and Maury started to work. But what I discovered very shortly after was that Maury was an absolute idiot with money, was totally incompetent. And, you know, he never paid for the product. And the fishermen got really angry, and they nearly wanted to close the factory. So I said to Maury, Maury, your product is fantastic. And you have the gift of the gab, you can sell it. But Maury, you are dangerous with your checkbook. You're really bad, don't you? He said, yeah, I've been bankrupted 3 times before. I said, why didn't you tell me that sooner? Because I would have... He says, oh, you know, I don't know why, but I cannot seem to be able to look after my money. And I said, well, do you have an accountant? He says, well, no. Oh, well, actually, yes, but I never paid him for the last 2 years, so I don't know. So I said, let's go and see the accountant. So I went to see this young accountant of Maury, and I said, look, this guy produced a fantastic product. It's tremendous. Look, we have a list of people who want to buy already, some very important restaurants. But this guy is totally incompetent when it comes to money. And the accountant looked at me and said, you telling me I'm his accountant? This guy is a living nightmare. I said, yeah. And I said to him, could you? I turned to Maury. I said, Maury, you really want me to keep working with you? He said, yes, Ernesto, please don't abandon me. Nobody has ever done for me what you've done. And I said, yeah, because I didn't know that you've been bankrupt 3 times before. I said to him, Maury, listen to me. Look at me. Are you prepared never again to sign a check in your company without somebody also signing the check? And Maury said, oh, look, absolutely. Because I know that I cannot manage it. So I said to the accountant, I said, look, we don't have money to pay you, and it's totally unfair to ask you what I'm going to ask you. But you see this guy, he has a real opportunity here. Look at his orders. Would you consider becoming his financial manager? Look, it will take going to the factory every Friday, get all this receivable, pay everybody, and then out of the profit, give him whatever, you know, is adequate and pay yourself. Probably with all these accounts that we have opened, in 5-6 weeks, you should be able to pay yourself. I know it's unfair to ask you, but would you do it? And the guy said, yeah, I'll do it. And I went, wow. And the two of them went to the bank. The accountant became the co-signatory of Maury's checkbook. And they started to make money. I got $1 million investment in the company. So I had to employ 12 people. And Maury was doing what he loved to do. And for the accountant was nothing to go there an hour a week. I was at the opening of the factory when the Minister for Fishery came down. Maury was crying, telling the story, 60 people in the factory. And somebody next to me said, you the guy who helped him? I said, yeah. Can you help us? And he told me the story of the 5 remaining tuna fishermen in Israel. And they came to talk to me together. They were all going broke. They were selling all the tuna to Keynote, the cannery in Albany, for 60 cents a kilo. Wasn't enough. They were going broke. And they said, you know, can you tell the government to give us money for a grant, to get a boat? I said, well, look, the government's not going to touch you. the government really told me, the big tuna that you want to find